Behind my house there is a forest that has a river in the middle. For all my life there was something creepy and strange about it. I've had dreams about this forest. I'm a very intuitive person, but this year has been crazy. There is a black shadow figure that walks behind the forest. His tall, white face, long nails with a very old appearance. He has been trying to come into my house for a very long time. He appears in my family dream. I made my own black salt with protection oil and put that all over the door window frames. He doesn't want to leave us alone. Around 2:30 a.m. me and everyone in the house woke up to singing coming from the forest. The cats in my house went insane, meowing really angry and running around the house until the singing stopped. The singing was so compelling that I wanted to leave house and walk into the forest. I never experienced this before and can't find any information on this. I'm really scared that it might happen again tonight. I don't think this shadow figure has any relationship with the singing. I'm thinking a new spirit has entered the forest and just wants to make it known that she's around. I met my child a decade before he was born. When I was 16 or 17, I was feeling deeply suicidal. I wanted to die and be put out of my misery. It was a very dark time for me and I was close to going through with it. One night I had a very clear dream. I could see a man in his 20s with dirty blonde hair staring at me from a bench. He had a short beard stubble. He said, loudly, "Mum, you have to get yourself together because I'm coming soon." It's odd because I have dark brown hair and he didn't look how I'd imagine my son would look. I woke up and this dream startled me. It felt so real, crystal clear. I can still see him and hear him now. A year after that dream, I met his dad who also had dark brown hair. It was an abusive relationship for years and I always wanted to leave, but something always happened that made me stay. Fast forward 8 years and I became pregnant. I instantly knew it was a boy. He was born, and he'll be 2 this year. His hair is dirty blonde and I just know that he is the same person as the man in my dream. He looks just like the toddler version of him. Has anyone else had an experience similar to this? I feel bothered by it on a weekly basis. It feels like I met my, now, ex just so that he could be born. I can't help but ask why. Why did he choose me? Why choose a horrible dad? I honestly feel like he picked both of us. It would be amazing to hear similar experiences just so that I know I'm not out of my mind. My dead grandfather visited me in a dream to tell me to get my shit together. My dead grandfather visited me in a dream to tell me to get my shit together. I'm not really a believer in the supernatural, but this dream was the first time that I ever really felt a reason to question my beliefs. I've had unexplained things happen, but they could be chalked up to hallucinations. This dream is much harder for me to explain away. This dream occurred on the night of Halloween. I believe it was 2017. Like, that detail only stuck with me because it's so damn cheesy for that to have been the case. But, I digress. 2017 was a dark time in my life. Without getting too specific, I was making some big mistakes. Things that one does when they're in that state of mind of being basically suicidal, and taking needless risks out of apathy for their own well-being. My grandfather was a very driven, very smart, but very blunt and sometimes even unkind man. He had died in 2012 after many decades of boozing and cigar smoking. On the night of Halloween, I had done some stuff that makes you nod in and out of consciousness. I eventually fell asleep and had the following dream. I'm at a fancy restaurant, but the scenery is somewhat twisted and warped. The lighting is that of early dusk. I'm sitting at a table on the patio of this surreal Michelin star restaurant, and across from me is the shadow-obscured silhouette of the entity I know to be far, my grandfather. He has no time for bullshit. "What the fuck are you doing with your life?" he asks me, in that voice that I hadn't heard in over 5 years. I don't remember even attempting to respond before he launches further into my verbal lashing. When I was your age I had founded a fucking power company. Stop moping around. I know it's hard, but you can't just run from your problems forever. You're too old for this shit. Make something of yourself. Or try, at least. Get your shit together. Good luck, and wise up. I attempt to go for a handshake as I try to say I will. The words never escape my mouth as I wake up while raising my arm above me, reaching for his hand. I've made some positive changes, and am 4 years clean. I'm still a fucking mess in many other ways. But I am still trying, far. Grandma is here. This happened a decade ago. My nephew just started to walk and talk, shortly after my mother passed. When visiting my brother, my nephew suddenly pointed at the sofa and said in a loud and clear voice, "Grandma is here. She's sitting there." He immediately tottered over to the sofa he pointed at and looked so happy. I didn't see or sense anything, and my nephew was too young to know how to play a prank. His reaction was spontaneous and natural. I often think about that day, especially when I miss my mom. My mother told me just recently that I used to see unusual things. I have no recollection of these things since I forget most of my memories as a child. She told me that I once pointed out at something and asked Mom, "Why is that woman riding a black horse?" It was known to most of the neighbors that the homeowner of the land I saw this entity in also see it and would threaten her when she lets in visitors that the entity is not fond of. She said it would lock her at her bathroom and set things on fire at her house. The entity she sees is the exact same one that I saw when I was a kid. A woman riding a black horse at her yard. Another one was that when we visited one of my relatives, I also pointed at a woman and her child, but no one else sees them. One of my grandmas confirmed that there was indeed a mother and child that once died near their house, and I could have been seeing them indeed. I remember a classmate that has never existed before. To clear things up to people who haven't seen my original post, I had discussed a classmate named Josie who was in my kindergarten class. Original says fourth, but it may be closer to my K class. She disappeared one day, and nobody knows who I am talking about or mentioning. Check it out for more background information if you want. The original thread has been archived, and I spent some time off of Reddit for a while. I am reviving this topic because I found some new things to share. Believe me or not, these things did happen to me. I dug deeper into this case, and unfortunately, I could not find much more info. Only conspiracies and theories led me on, and I kind of forgot about it for a good half a year, until I stumbled upon something when I was clearing out my dirty closet. I found a box of Pokemon cards that I used to collect around the time of Josie's disappearance. See, here's the thing. I already knew about these cards before I met Josie, and these were cards we used to trade all the time. I had a designated area in this box, which was the flaps of the cardboard box. I checked into this pocket, and I noticed that the cards that I got from Josie were not there. This is where I stored them, so I dumped the whole box out. There was no sight of any of these cards in the pile. To clear things up, I knew when I was just imagining things. The desk for Josie in our class was always there. One time, I bumped into her desk, which had a sharp edge on its side. I had remembered this up to now, because it's what made her desk different from the others. All the other desks were smooth-edged. The day she disappeared, the desk no longer had this distinct difference. That desk was replaced with a new student a few days later.
Bye, have a great time.